Big up to the boys, Fox and Shane. Set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love, roll the dice. 50-50, we cold as ice. One thing cold, but the penny turn red. Can't let that shit in my hand, war gaming.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Hobby Homies. We are your weekly tabletop podcast. I am Shane. As always, I'm joined by Fox.
Howdy, friends.
And, of course, we've got Churchy in the void.
Yep, I'm back in the void.
Back in the void.
Where you belong.
Just stay there.
Never come out. He's got his headphones back on.
He does.
Can't hear us.
No. Better if not. Today, we are talking about Warhammer Underworlds.
That's right. We played... we've been really into Underworlds in the past.
Yep.
Well, we've played it, I should say.
Yeah.
However, what's reinvigorated our love is the Rivals format.
Yep.
That sort of come out a couple of editions ago. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about our experience with that. Before we do, as we talk about all things, including this Underworlds Rivals format,
Yep.
there are some things that we are quite new at. And we don't always get it right.
No.
So please, let us know if we messed up rules or definitions or whatever. Let us know in the YouTube comments.
Yep.
Please jump in our Discord. Let us know. Chat Underworlds. Inspire us. Show us your warbands. Tell us what good rival decks match up. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
All the links for all of the things are on hobbyhomies.com. Please check those out. Would love to see you there.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about our Underworlds experience previously to the game that we just played before.
Yeah. So it's been a hot minute since we played Underworlds.
Yes.
Been a long time.
It has been a minute.
I actually can't remember. It's been like years.
Years. We would have played, in fact, the box that we played, you had was Night Vault, which you think was maybe the second...
Season 2?
Season 2.
Yeah.
So probably pre-COVID, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
3 years ago, maybe.
Yep.
And for those who, I assume most people know what Warhammer Underworlds is, but if you don't, you have a small warband of 3 to 10 models.
Yeah, even like maybe 3 to 7 or something
Sure,
like that.
quite small.
Yeah. Each board has deployment zones. So the maximum deployment zones, which I think is like 7.
There you
Or
go.
maybe
So it probably is only 7 or 8 troops.
Yeah.
At max, some have as minimal as 3.
Yeah.
Which is great. So it's a small size skirmish game, but it's a boxed board game-esque take on wargaming. So
everything you need in the box.
Yeah.
Lovely.
He was trying to be as loud as possible, and he succeeded.
He nailed it.
You have our attention.
You peaked the microphone.
Yeah, now we have to reset the whole system because of that, Churchy.
Brought to you by Coke No Sugar.
I'm uncomfortable with you standing there watching us. You're out of the void.
This is
On the edge of the void.
what is happening right now.
Become a voidling. And so it is played on hexes, which is great because you do away with rulers.
Hexes has been a really good system that I've actually, since playing Mecha Hex, I've been digging.
And
it's just that board game step, where it's like not as finicky, not, you don't have to be so particular with where you actually place your models.
For sure.
It's either in the hex or it's not.
Yeah. 50-50.
50-50.
It either is or it isn't.
Exactly.
Yes, and it makes a part of the game that shouldn't be complicated really simple.
Yep.
And so what you want to see from a game that does away with rulers and excessive movement rules is them to put those mechanics elsewhere in a way that makes the game interesting. And I feel like Underworlds has always done a pretty good job of doing that.
Yeah.
It's been really cool for us to play ages ago and come back and see how much it's changed and shifted. Shifted. It's shifted Ted.
Indeed. Yeah, it added a lot of really cool mechanics and like keywords and even the wording on the cards I found was a lot better.
Yeah.
Options where it's like some objectives had, like either, like there was like 2 conditions. Is it or and,
So true. The very first thing I noticed is, we should quickly explain the Rivals format.
We should, yeah. Rivals is kind of new. Like I saw a couple of boxes where it was like Rivals of Harrowdeep or whatever. And I was like, okay, you're selling me the models without selling me the boards.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. I
Sure.
didn't think it was any more. Mm-hmm. But then when you brought it to my attention that it uses like a whole new deck system,
Yeah.
like pre-made decks.
Yep.
Which the deck building of Underworlds to me, I see why people would love it.
Sure.
And I see why like maybe this would be great for those that play collectible card games.
Yeah.
Would enjoy it because it's got that deck building element, but it was just one unnecessary thing that I hated.
Yeah. And to contrast with that, so you hated the deck building aspect.
Yeah.
Because of the raw deck building aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I disliked that I bought these season 1 or whatever they are, the rats.
Yeah.
They were quite eearly. 2, 3, whatever.
Season 1, I think. Yeah.
Season 1 rats.
Yep. Spike Cause Swarm or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I bought those and we would play Underworlds a couple times.
Yeah.
And as the seasons went on, for me to take them and play them in a way that was competitively viable,
Yep.
I would have needed to constantly be purchasing universal cards and things of that nature so that I had what was the best net list or at least a competitive pool of cards to play competitively.
Yep.
And anytime I play a game, if it's got a competitive side, I want to be playing close to that.
Yeah.
So that if I ever went to a tournament, it wouldn't be a far stretch. I wouldn't have to go out and buy a heap of stuff. I could bring my okay stuff and have fun at that event.
Yeah. Or even then, if you wanted to step it up, you're sort of, you're 3/4 of the way there.
Exactly.
It's like it would only take maybe 1 or 2 more purchases to be at that like top tier competitive level.
Exactly.
Which is understandable.
And so that was my biggest deterrent, was the fact that the deck building element for the competitive scene had become so cumbersome and loaded, because you did need to constantly be buying new stuff and be aware of the meta, and
even expansions like like you would have to buy like the newest hex-based hunters or whatever they were at the time to get one particular card.
Yeah,
which you need for your deck.
For sure.
Like you've got no interest in all these other warbands.
Yeah,
you have to get them to get the cards.
And I remember I was like, Underworlds is a great game. I'd love to play this competitively. And I went on a website. I can't remember what it is. It's the main one most competitive people use for Underworlds.
Yeah.
And it had this cool breakdown where it was like, hey, here's a top tier Spikeclaw Swarm deck.
Yeah.
And here's all the cards in it, and here's where to get them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, there are so many different things I need to buy to get all these cards.
Yeah.
And so that's the competitive format. I forget what they call that, but that's basically where they've got limits on what types of cards you can bring.
Yeah.
It has to be stuff from the newest set, I think, or the previous one, and universal cards, these event, whatever.
The most two recent, I believe, is the current rules.
For sure.
Anything older than that, no go.
Yeah, and half of those cards have been errated or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just really difficult to play that format.
Yeah.
The flip side of the other format was open play. Just bring whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whatever, just bring
Pure
it.
chaos.
And it is. It's pure chaos, because it's like you'll have two decks that are significantly different in balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this Rivals format comes right in the middle of those two formats and says, you buy these rival decks, and they're supposed to be, as best they can, balanced against other rival decks. You don't need to build them, take them out of the box, you play with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you play against someone, it should be a fun, competitive game where you're both on equal footing.
Yeah.
That's the idea of the Rivals format.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, naturally, there's going to be rival decks that probably pair with certain warbands better.
I think so. Like all the warbands that come with rival decks now, maybe that little bit more fine-tuned, or maybe they just, like you said, they just match better.
Yeah.
I played, in our game,
Yeah.
Hex-based Hunters.
Yeah.
And you played your Skaven Spikeclaw Swarm with the Illusory Magic deck, whatever they call it, Rivals deck.
Yeah.
So like a deck like that maybe doesn't quite suit the way that the Skaven play.
Yeah.
That would have been better for one of maybe the spellcasters, like
possibly
one of Stormcast factions or something like that.
And you did touch on a great point where it's like there are Rivals decks that are intended to go with a specific warband and can only go with that warband.
Yeah.
And then there are universal rival decks where it's like, hey, pick one. They've all sort of got different play styles. Match it up with the warband you like.
Yep.
And away you go. So I found that really cool. The only thing I'm not sure of that I'll check is whether or not you add your warband specific power cards to the Rivals deck. I think I might have seen that somewhere, which we didn't do.
No.
But that's fine. Because we were just sort of wetting our feet again in the Rivals format. And you mentioned, although, like my first impressions when we had that Rivals deck, we set up the battlefield, and we drew our first hands, was I read those objective cards, and they were just so much more well presented, enjoyable. They gave you options. Those 3 cards I looked at and I went, this game is already twice as good as when we played, just based on what I've read on these cards.
Yeah. The cards were so interesting. Like I said earlier about the different conditions to achieve some objectives you could score multiple different ways.
Yeah.
Some of them required you to have a couple of models out of action, or a couple of models in enemy's territory, which I guess was kind of similar to the earlier ones, but there was less of just hold objective 1.
Correct.
Or hold more objectives than your opponent, or hold objectives in your opponent's deployment zone, or board rather. There was just it was, I don't know, they were just more
interesting.
Yeah.
Like one of mine was score if you have more equal upgrade cards or more than the number objective that you sit on if it's in your opponent's deployment zone.
Yeah.
I forget how it was worded, but that was the idea. If I wanted to sit on objective number 2 in your deployment zone, and I had 2 upgrades on me, I then would score that.
Yeah.
If you had 5, I'd need to have 5 upgrades.
So had I have been, the one to score objectives 4 and 5, that would have been very hard for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And the cool thing about these rival decks is they do have a real distinct play style, but there's also, it feels like there's a few different archetypes in it.
Yep.
So what I noticed with mine is it was all about these illusion upgrades.
Yeah.
That are really, they're free to equip. You don't have to pay glory.
Yep.
Which is something you typically have to do.
Yeah, that's good.
But they break at the end of the round, basically.
Yeah.
So you could get 4 of them and load 4 on a person. Yeah. A single power step, have them real beefed up, but it was only going to be for that turn.
Yeah.
But when they break, they go in the discard pile, and it has so many power things that was like, if it's in your discard pile, discard 2 power, grab it back out.
Oh, so you could sort of fish for it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So I had one that helped me fish my deck for 1 as well.
Yep.
Draw until you draw an illusion upgrade and put it in your hand.
Because you scored an objective that was something to do with having illusions in your discard pile,
correct.
right?
Yep.
So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So to score that, you might pick up that at the start of the game, and then okay, I need to burn through these upgrade cards to score this.
Exactly. Yeah, I knew they were something I wanted in my discard pile because it gave me more options.
Yeah.
I could fish out certain ones after they were in there.
Yeah.
And because you draw up to 5 every turn, 5 power cards.
Yep.
I was like, it's better to have 5 new cards coming in every turn and having all my things in the discard pile, and I can eventually search and score off that. So that was really fun. I found playing this, we found out that it was probably a, air quotations, suboptimal deck, rival deck for Scritch's Spikeclaw Swarm. Yeah. Because to inspire those, so sort of to upgrade your main characters, they have conditions that you have to meet.
Yeah.
Now, yours was super simple.
Oh, mate, mine just started popping. As soon as one popped, the rest of them just started popping.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I want to hear about them because I forget why it was so easy, but I'll hear about that in a sec.
Yeah.
But mine, I need to play a power card, a ploy, or a gambit that says, choose a friendly fighter, and then I need to target one of my Spikeclaw Swarm members with that card.
So the condition, from memory, it is... they become inspired when they're the target of a ploy, right?
Correct, yeah.
So that could also mean if I had have targeted them with one of my, maybe my aggressive cards or whatever you call it, offensive cards.
Correct, yeah.
So, which I don't think I really did.
No, you didn't. But that was something that we had to query. It was like, what defines being chosen as a recipient of a card? Because if a card says increase a friendly fighter's move by 2, you're like, well, if I'm playing that on this person, surely they get inspired because they were the target of that.
Yeah.
But then I had a card that would have meant 4 of my people got inspired on turn 1.
Yeah.
So we did a quick Google, and it says if the card specifically says choose in bold writing, that's like one of the keywords, that's what inspires Scritch's Spikeclaw.
It's actually really, really funny because when you're reading that card out to me, I'm just like, oh man, I hope he doesn't get all of them inspired because that's bullshit if it does. And then next turn, my guys just all become inspired.
So true. It was literally the next turn. I was like, I wouldn't do it, man, because having all 4 in one turn would be ridiculous. And you're like, yeah. Anyway, so 3 are mine.
3?
3 is much more reasonable. Absolutely. How did your 3 get inspired?
So my main guy, Hexbane, or whatever his name is, he became inspired when he was the recipient of an attack.
Yes, that's right.
Which was great because he didn't have to take damage as long as he was targeted.
Yep.
He became inspired.
Great for him.
Great for him. And then one of the other ones, I think it's like Bridget something or other. She became inspired when he became inspired.
Okay, she's a freebie.
Yeah. And then the last guy, Amos, he became inspired when he dealt damage, I think. Something like that.
Sure.
So it was like,
Sure.
So it's like Hexbane inspired, Bridget inspired, and then
you
charged,
fought,
and then he became inspired. So it was just like I was having fun. I was just flipping cards left, right, and center.
And for those thinking, well, what on earth is inspired? Your character cards basically have 2 sides: your original side where they got their regular stats or whatever, and the condition to inspire them.
Yeah.
And then once they become inspired, you flip them onto their gold side.
Yep.
And their stats are slightly better.
And usually they get an extra attack as well.
Oh yeah,
like
true.
Like a variation or a different attack.
Yeah. Okay.
Or a
cool.
spell or some other ability.
Maybe for you and your lucky duck, new fandangled warbands.
Sometimes, like Fox, you just get unlucky. It's like, oh, cool, I get to roll 1 extra dodge.
Yeah. Which I was talking to Churchy. I was like, well, that actually doubles my defense. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But we did look through my deck, and I found out I only had 2 cards in it that had the choose keyword.
Yeah.
So at most for the entire game, unless you foolishly chose one of mine, I could only inspire 2. And you did 3 on your first turn.
Yeah.
Having said that, I actually think the deck itself was good enough that after I learned how sort of it worked, I think I'd still choose to play with that deck again.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was interesting. I liked that it was all based about cycling these upgrades, and a lot of the objectives were based around that, and getting into your side of the board.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good for this game. And they got move 5, so it was easy.
That's right. Like your first move, I'm like far out. Like you charge right up the board.
Yeah.
All of my guys are like move 3. The doggos will move 4.
Yeah.
It's like I just can't keep up.
Yeah.
These rats will run circles around me.
I did a couple times. I had to run circles so I could get on an objective and
Or charge a different character.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So that was good fun.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt like, although the deck the play style, you would argue maybe was not kind of ratty, but like on the table, it turned out that way.
Yeah.
Because it forced me to constantly give my rats like special rules like assassin and upgrade them and send them into your thing, and then when they would die, Scritch would bring them back, and they had this endless swarm vibe, or it was getting there, it felt like.
Yeah.
And so it was like the play style of the rats did work and make sense with that rival deck. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure. That was the only rival deck that Guff had in stock, but I'm sure if there aren't more available, it seems like they're going to continue to bring these universal decks out where they'll theme them around different things.
Yeah.
So that one's obviously themed around magical items and illusion, right?
Yep.
It'd be interesting to see some that are themed around, chaos and melee combat and stuff like that.
For sure.
I can imagine like a Khorne sort of esque one.
Yeah.
Just themed about blood.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Getting blood tokens, blood for the blood god. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's a million ways they could go.
It's going to be good to see how they decide to run that route. Like, I hope Rival stays because I think I had more fun playing that game than any of our earlier games of the original version.
For sure. And we always played Underworlds and went, this is great, we should play it more. But it was always a little bit uninspiring.
Yeah.
And the only allure was the possible deck building, which felt like was a futile task.
Yeah.
So now it's more about the gameplay and figuring out how to master these decks. I can understand if I played this maybe 5 times with the... because there's no variation in the deck.
No.
And no variation probably in the play style.
Yeah.
You would just be about... I remember I would play Yu-Gi-Oh! With the same deck 50 times.
Yeah.
And it would just be about, okay, learning other rival decks.
Okay. Yeah.
How does my deck respond to them doing this? I know what's in their deck. I got to be prepared for that coming up.
Yeah.
So I got to set this up, maybe bait them to use that thing. So even if you are forced to use the same rival deck because it's the best one for your warband 30 times, I still feel like that's a great competitive format.
Yeah. And if you have any other warbands, it's going to be a whole different playstyle.
Totally, yeah.
So like if you're limited to 30 times with your Skaven, if you've got another warband like your Sylvaneth or something like that, then it's again different style, new, shake it up.
That's right, and you can shake it up in the two different ways depending on what you want to do. I will never see myself playing anything other than the rats because I love them.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean I couldn't have 6 different rival decks.
Yeah.
And play around with those and see which one suits the play style, which one I prefer, which one goes better into this matchup.
Yeah.
Things like that. So
absolutely.
Whereas other people might be like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to play all of my war bands. I've got like, what do you got? let's not go there.
I don't want to
You got a few.
Too many.
Do you know how many?
Not off the top of my head.
What do you reckon? If you had to guesstimate, more than 20?
Yes. Oh,
probably 15 to 20.
So close. 15 to 20.
Yeah, wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How many built?
8.
Oh, that's pretty good, dude.
Built and painted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, built and painted 8.
Yeah, 8. I think. 2.
I don't believe this guy.
Yeah, I'd say at least 8.
We'll wait, dude.
Do they all use the unpainted paint theme that you used tonight?
No, they use the painted paint theme.
Your paint theme tonight was interesting.
Yeah,
it was like sort of a lack of contrast.
It was, yeah.
You were going for that juxtaposition of like, you've got this beautifully painted Spite Claws swarm, and the expectation is I've at least got some paint on here, but you brought none.
No.
So that's like a nice sort of commentary on the current state of wargaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going for. How did you know?
It was just you nailed it. And when there's good art, yes, it's open to interpretation, but the intention is clear to those as savvy as people like Churchy and myself.
Absolutely.
And we knew it. As soon as we came in, saw you gluing the last bits of your model together, what you were going for.
That was completed.
Yeah.
That's the banana duct tapes to a wall in form of miniatures.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was cool. And so people who have lots of war bands, but maybe don't want to just be constantly rattling their brain because they don't play too often, playing with all these different war bands and rivals deck. You can pick one, learn the play style of the rival deck, but swap up the war band as opposed to the other way around.
Learn how that rival deck may allow you to inspire your war band.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Speaking of lack thereof, there was a lack thereof rats on the table for a while.
I was just clearing them. It was just like pest control.
It was.
Yep.
Yeah, you were the exterminator.
Yep.
Sorry to steal your joke from earlier, Churchy.
That's right.
He's not listening. He's asleep. Just like the rest of our audience. Hello for those who have just woken up. And Churchy. Yeah, so our game went interestingly.
Yeah.
But sorry, before I get into that, I want to talk about... So my rival deck was about these illusional items that broke as soon as... which makes sense because they're illusions.
Yes.
So they break at the end of the action phase because the illusion's over. You're like, that wasn't real. That thing that killed me wasn't real. I've figured you out. I'm still dead. But
I'm still dead. Somehow I'm still dead.
Yeah. And discarding those and bringing them back and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Rezzing items. What was yours about? Your rival deck, do you feel like it had a theme? What kind of stuff did it do?
The theme was Hexbane's Hunters.
Yes. I'm trying to think of what you played.
It just played on the abilities of those models. So like, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really get through many ploys. Like, I had some really cool things where it was like, I played one where it's like, I would upgrade a model.
Yeah.
And then that upgrade would be free, but if I spent a glory point, I'd get an extra card.
Yeah. You know what? I am thinking about what you just said, which is that it played on the play style of your Hexbane Hunters, which was so bloody cool.
Yeah.
Because your power cards were things like Ensnare. So you could ensnare my things and stop them from using dodge,
so
right?
They couldn't use dodge, so in theory they couldn't roll defense.
Exactly, which is all my stuff.
Unless they rolled crits.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there was something else that you did.
I had one which would stop you from rezzing.
Yes, that's right.
So it was an upgrade that I could equip to one of my hunters, and if that model killed something or took it out of action, that model couldn't be rezzed.
Which is really cool because the playstyle of these Hexbane Hunters and their lore, I assume...
Vampire Hunters.
Exactly.
Like
So what they do is they catch things, then they kill them.
Yep.
And they stay there.
And they make sure they stay dead.
So it makes sense that all your spells and stuff were around the idea of ensnaring, killing, and killing finally.
Yep.
The interesting thing is, like, my rats aren't undead. So, like, yeah, you can put a silver stake in a vampire and make sure they stay dead, or maybe you sprinkle some cumin or paprika over a skeleton. I don't know.
It's one of them.
Time. Yeah. Time reses all of us. Or the opposite.
Yeah. But yeah, your the way that your rats res is just another one. It just comes out of the shadows.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the sewers or wherever they come from.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's a big thing that we struggled with today was all the new keywords.
Oh, so many new keywords.
Because we didn't have the new book.
Yep.
But you have ordered.
I have, what is it, Gnarlwood?
Gnarlwood? Is that the newest one?
I think so.
And that's really cool because it comes with 2 warbands with their specific rival decks.
Yep.
And then 2 more universal rival decks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you can actually crack that open, play with 4 players.
Far out.
2 from the... Yeah, it's really cool. So I'd love to know what rival decks, universal rival decks are in there and buy one off you or...
we'll use them. There's
I want them.
There's interesting things we noticed, like a lot of things mentioned in cover, which none of the boards we're using are old boards.
Yeah.
So none of them have cover hexes.
Yeah,
as far
for
as I
sure.
can tell.
Yeah.
Unless maybe those line of sight blocking ones. Oh, no, line of sight blocking ones. What were they? The white outline ones which you can't pass over. Maybe they count as cover.
Sure, potentially.
I don't know.
Maybe they've added new green gridded ones or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yep.
It was really cool that although we were playing such an old version of the game, that with 2 rival decks, or 1 new rival deck,
Yep.
and my old warband, we were able to play the new version of Underworlds with all of our old stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we just had to Google some of the rules,
Yeah.
and we missed out on a couple things like cover, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But I feel like that, playing the game now versus when we used to play, which we still did enjoy,
Yeah.
it's night and day in terms of its enjoyment. Like, that was amazing.
Oh, yeah. So good. So good. I'm looking forward to playing again. I've got another, what is it called? Nether Maze? Something?
Warband?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, which would be interesting to see how that rival deck looks compared to that warband and how that one plays.
Yeah.
So, and like all the other warbands, like it's awesome to be able to throw them on the table again.
Yeah, your old
So,
ones. You just grab a rival deck and you're like, you probably, if you flick through the cards and got an idea, you'd be like, this will play really well with my X.
Yeah, yeah.
And bring that to the table.
Yep.
So there's a lot of potential there for this game to what's it called? Strong arm its way into the rotation.
Oh, yeah. And like set up, there's just a board and some tokens.
That's it.
It's not much to it.
Only 3 turns.
Yep.
Like, this is our first time learning, and I think, we spent hour and a half on it.
Yeah. But there was a lot of in between.
So much in between.
Mucking around. And
So we had to relearn the game, then constantly try and Google new rules as opposed to flicking through a rule book.
Yep.
So this is like a game you could, if you had 2 people, competent people,
Yep.
it could go for an hour.
Yeah.
You could play 3 of those and
reckon.
then record an episode.
Yeah.
We could run ourselves a mini tournament and then do an episode on it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I won't promise any episodes on Underworld's Rivals format coming in the future, but stay tuned. So,
Paint some models.
yeah, and that's the cool thing, I think, about, in my head, I want to do some Underworld stuff.
Yeah.
And then I go, well, usually I've already got my swarm ready to go.
Yeah.
Usually this would mean Googling the best list and how these cards and where to get these cards, sort of deck building.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'll just look through maybe the rival decks and what they kind of do.
Yeah. See which ones come in Gnarlwood.
Yeah.
See which one might work best
Yeah.
with the swarm.
But I'll spend all my energy now on touching up my little Spikeclaw swarm, which is just contrast painted. So I'll do some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excited about that.
Hell yeah.
Where was this hobby motivation earlier when I had all the time in the world and I was struggling? I couldn't think of anything to do.
Not with the swarm.
Not with the swarm. It's back with the swarm.
Hell yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Final closing thoughts. Out of 10,
Oh, out of 10.
how keen are you to play this game? We just did an episode on Mecha Hex.
Mecha Hex. Yep.
So go check that out.
Yeah.
It's our last episode.
Our one-page rules version of BattleTech.
Correct. And it's played on hexes like Underworlds.
Yes. So, did you know One Page Rules has a fantasy hex-based game?
I could assume. Is
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, fair enough.
Arena or something, maybe? I don't
It's
know.
called Over Planets. I don't know what the opposite of Underworlds is.
Kind of that.
Over Planets. What was the point of my story about our last episode? I forget. Go check
Telling everyone
that
to
out.
go watch it.
Yeah, I guess.
If you like giant robots.
You gave that game an 8 on your I want to play that again.
Oh yeah, I did too, didn't I?
So where does Underworld sit on a scale of 1 to 10?
At least an 8.
Yeah, right. At least an 8.
At least an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's at a point where I can play with models I've already got and already painted.
I come through that door with my mechs and some dice.
Yep.
But I've also got my Underworlds and new rival deck. I throw them both down. I'm like, Shane, which one do you want to play right now?
Oh man, don't do that to me.
I'm like, which one, man?
50-50, yeah.
That's the correct answer.
We'll flip a coin.
Yeah. And then when it lands on tails, you'll know what you wanted all along.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So a solid 8 as well.
Yeah.
It's on that same
Yep.
Hexa Lexa text.
It's a bit where I'm at a point now where I know my war games. I know that I want to play something that's quick and easy. I don't want to spend 4 hours playing something that I need to flick through dozens of books or dozens of pages even.
Yep.
You know, like
Fair.
and racking the internet just for answers to one thing where it's like
Why play many hours when few do the trick?
Do trick, yeah.
Yeah.
More games in the same time.
Yeah, good, better is good.
It's good.
Yeah.
What would you give it if you had to give it out of 10?
Out of 10 on the how much I want to play it again.
Yeah.
I'd say like an 8 or a 9. I'd say a 9 because it's after playing it now, all I want to do, like, it's the next game I want to play again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is good because I was sort of like, which game is sort of calling to me at the moment? Just playing this again and this, the first time back playing a game after years is always the longest version.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And like, so knowing that was the longest and most rule flicking we're going to have to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was already so enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to play again. So like a 9.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
As a game, I don't know. But maybe when we play some more, we'll let them know.
Yeah. It always takes a few rounds, a few goes.
Yep.
Before you can really concrete it in. But I don't know. The ease of it is just, it's good.
Yeah.
Small footprint as well, so you can set it up on the coffee table or the kitchen table or whatever.
We just played it on the corner of our podcasting desk.
Exactly, like right literally here in front of us.
Because your 6x4 table was taken up with terrain that you're not using. Terrain looks amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Check out the Discord to check out Shane's terrain updates.
I copied the idea from Rad.
Thank you, Rad. You beautiful soul. We've all copied Rad in one way or another.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. If you enjoy Underworlds at all or know anything about it that we don't, which is super possible,
absolutely,
please jump in the Discord. Let us know.
You can find links on hobbyhomies.com. From there, you can also find links to all other stuff like our Patreon, our merch store, and
I'll turn around for those watching because I'm wearing some
Hobby Homies hoodie. Oh, you are too. Very nice. It's green screened. I can see right through you.
Excellent. That happens in real life too. Yeah, that's why they're $80.
Yep.
How much are they? I don't know. 65.
Something like that. I can't remember.
Sorry,
I don't buy from there.
If you're a patron, don't forget to use your 10 or 15% off.
If you're a goat patron.
If you're a goat. If you're actually a goat too, we should give.
Oh yeah,
email us. Email us. Links on hobbyhomies.com.
Also check out Brooklyn 99 binge-worthy breakdown.
Yeah,
they are doing Brooklyn 99.
Yeah,
they're nearly through season 4, I think. Like halfway through the series.
They're breaking down that binge-worthy content.
Oh, so much.
Was that an ad? Do they pay us for that?
No, they don't pay us at all.
That's fair enough. We pay them.
But have a listen. Kate and Caitlin doing the good stuff with the Brooklyn 99.
Absolutely.
Massive shout out to our patrons. Without you guys, we wouldn't be doing everything we do here on the channel. As always, got a shout out to Burnsy, Whack, Final Dinosaur, MJ, Lethal, Moose, Penny, Gridlock, Battle Maps, Jack, and Test Dummy.
Elko, Churchy, thanks Churchy, Rad, thanks Rad, Ollie, Hawkers, Aggro, Bravo14, and Big Roach. Thank you all so much. I'm looking at some of the names on this list, and you all have been with us for years.
Literally years.
And
literally years.
You're incredible. You're amazing. We can't thank you enough. Yep. So we try on every episode, but it fails in comparison to how much you deserve.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll see you on the next one.
Hey, bro. Peace.
Big up to the boys, Fox and Shane. Set your minds free, no locks and chains. Do what you love,